Hi everyone, the title of this video is Phonemic Awareness, Moving Beyond Heggerty. Let me preface this by saying Heggerty is a fantastic Tier 1 resource. It provides wonderful, systematic phonemic awareness instruction for our students in grades K1 and 2. However, due to the ever-changing learning environment, the students, being home, being back in school part day, being home again, being back in school full day, there are some learning gaps that we have seen through our assessments and through your classroom observations. So this video is just going to provide a opportunity to learn some practices that will strengthen your Tier 1 phonemic awareness instruction. So the first thing that I want to look at is your Tier 1 practice. What does your data say? Where can you strengthen your routines? Where in your day or where in your practice can you strengthen these phonemic awareness routines, and what resources do you have? I realize the side of my video is cut off, but this is my third time taping this, so it's just going to have to be like that. So let's start with our data. The data tells a story. Your data may tell you that your students are solid on phonemic awareness. They are all at benchmark, or a large majority of your students are at benchmark for first sound fluency and phoneme segmentation. The students who are not at benchmark are receiving appropriate support from an inclusion teacher or a Title I reading teacher. So if your students are demonstrating a solid grasp of phonemic awareness, you wouldn't need to implement any of those routines. However, if your data is telling you a different story, that your students are not solid on phonemic awareness knowledge, then this is where you can put in some routines to strengthen your Tier 1 instruction. So we're going to start by looking at M-Class. There are also class data sheets in Google Sheets, which gives all of your students' data color-coded there. Personally, I find M-Class easier to navigate. I'm not very fluent with Google Sheets, so I have a hard time sorting the data, but whatever your preference is, it offers the same information in two separate places. So let's head over to the M-Class website and take a look at one of the kindergarten classes. So just a refresher, when you go to M-Class, you click on that blue square that offers your own classroom data. Then you get to this page with all your students listed on the left, and you see 4 tabs: class summary, beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year. I went to the middle of the year tab, and you see your composite score, first sound fluency, letter naming, phoneme segmentation, nonsense words, and whole words read. Now the students right now are listed in alphabetical order, and I'm looking at specifically at phonemic awareness. So I am going to go to our first phonemic awareness measure. I'm going to click where it says goal 30, and it's going to sort my students from low to high. I find this really easy to use and very telling when you look at the snapshot and see where the students are. When I count them up, there are 7 students below benchmark and 1 student right at benchmark. The goal is 30 and 1 student is right at 30. So for the sake of practice, I'm going to count that student in my below benchmark of 8 students out of 21. That's more than 30% of my students in Tier 1 that are demonstrated below benchmark skills on the DIBELS assessment. Yes, this is just one snapshot, but this is demonstrating our data tells a story that they have a need in phonemic awareness. So what do I do with this? Let's head back over to the Google Slides. So after you've looked at your data, you have a story to tell from your data. Maybe it's all of my students have really strong phonemic awareness, and we're going to move on to phonics with that nonsense word fluency correct letter sounds. Or maybe it's, some of my students need some strengthened routines to strengthen their phonemic awareness. The first bullet point is some teacher resources from FCRR. Now, if you have a link saved from when I sent it last year, get rid of that. That link is dead. I actually had a really hard time finding this, so make sure you use this new link here. So when I click on this link, it's going to take me to the FCRR website, Empowering Teachers. It offers phonemic awareness instructional routines. I would not introduce all of these routines in one day, but maybe once a week, you're going to introduce these routines. Remember, this is only if your students are demonstrating a need. If you're solid with your Heggerty and Tier 1, great. But if your class is showing, a large percentage, I'd say anything over 20% of your students below benchmark, this is something you really want to strengthen. Maybe you want to use it anyway. These are great quick routines. So I'm going to click on one. I'm going to click on phoneme isolation. There is a quick instructional routine on phonemic isolation. Teacher explains it's an I do, we do, you do, with scaffolding suggestions at the bottom. What's the point of this in addition to Heggerty? Heggerty is a great chance to drill and for the kids to practice those skills, and that's enough for a lot of kids, but not all your students. So thinking about putting a routine in to teach them the phonemic awareness skill before you practice it. So that's a really quick, easily accessible instructional practice you can put into place to strengthen your phonemic awareness. The other one I wanted to go to is Heggerty, the Heggerty website. So if I head to heggerty.org, I don't want to buy anything. I don't want to buy any of the trainings, but I'm going to go to downloads. We don't need any of the sample lessons, but there's some really good resources down here, particularly hand motion videos. We don't want our students to be wasting their cognitive effort trying to figure out what we're doing. So having a uniform practice of the hand motions is very powerful to the students. There's a guide in English, flashcards, a fidelity checklist to make sure you're doing everything in your lesson. Again, it's not about changing your routines, it's about strengthening practices that you already have in place. So I also wanted to share some other resources with you. So we looked at teacher resources and a video review. Let's think of things you could use with the kids. If you're like, oh, I see this large population of my students is below benchmark in either first sound fluency or phoneme segmentation, they aren't getting pulled for a wing group, but I have this time in my wing group. We have at every grade level a resource called Equipped for Reading Success by David Kilpatrick. It includes 1-minute drills that are targeted to a specific phonemic awareness skill or area of deficit. It mirrors the phonemic awareness progression from Heggerty, from 95% group, starting with syllables, moving to phonemes. So it mirrors that progression, so you can kind of see where your students fall. And if you're looking for a 1-minute drill to do or something quick to do with your students during win time or during, warm-up time in the morning, during center time, anything like that, that's a great resource. I have a copy of it. I encourage you to reach out to your grade level inclusion teacher. Your grade level inclusion teacher also has a copy of this Equipped for Reading Success by David Kilpatrick. And finally, those FCRR activities. We have used those in the past. We used to have those big red binders full of them. But let me show you on the website how to navigate those, and maybe you'll find something that you want to use as a warm-up in your class, you want to use as a center activity during WIN. They're really purposeful and often something that the students can do without needing direct teacher instruction. I headed back over to the FCRR site. I just typed in fcrr.org and you go to Student Center Activities. I'm going to kindergarten and first grade. And look what I see here, phonological awareness. Look at all these things, alliteration, sentence segmentation, syllables, phoneme matching. There are a ton of different activities. It just comes down to showing your students what to do, and they should be able to do most of these independently. All of them? Probably not, but enough that it can be a purposeful practice during non-core time. What do I mean by that? Transition time, morning, dismissal, after lunch, win time, center time, something like that. So hopefully these resources were helpful to you in considering what does your data say? Where can you strengthen your routines? So you're going to use some of this information and put it into your day and think, where can I implement these things? And what resources do you have? Lean on the FCRR website, the teacher routines, the Heggerty, as well as the David Kilpatrick resources.